So, hello everybody, and welcome to the Microsoft Viva session of the Workplace Innovation 22 event. I'm going to start by introducing myself. So, I'm Hannah Newman. I am a modern workplace and security sales specialist at Bytes. Our guest speaker today is Kat Greenan, who's actually from one of our premier partners, Core. So, Kat, do you want to introduce yourself and maybe give a line or two on who Core are?
Yeah, that's fine. So, hi everyone. My name's Kat Greenan. I'm a Microsoft Solutions Specialist at Core. We are a Microsoft 365 platform partner based in the UK, and we primarily focus on helping Bytes with the collaboration aspect of Microsoft 365, but we also get involved in the Bytes managed workspace as well.
Perfect. Thanks, Kat. So, to set everyone's expectations today, today is going to be a mixture of showing some of the Viva features, but also having discussions on how Viva can actually help with the challenges that businesses are facing in 2022. So, probably a sensible place to start. I mean, Viva is a relatively new product. So, Kat, do you want to start by giving us an overview of what Microsoft Viva actually is?
Yeah, that's fine. It's probably easier if I share some content at this stage and just talk through what it is. So, Microsoft Viva is an employee experience platform that Microsoft have announced last February. It was fully released in November last year. And the employee experience platform integrates totally with Microsoft Teams. So, the way that you would consume and use Viva is directly through Teams, which makes it great because everything's in one place. It incorporates a few different aspects. So you can see on my screen, we have four different modules of Microsoft Viva. And they do different things, and an organization can choose to use one or all of the tools if they want to. And just to run through them very quickly, because we will be going into a bit more detail, the first one on here is Connections. So this is where we're bringing in a SharePoint intranet into Teams. It's where we can have everything in one place. As an employee, I've got my news, I've got my tools, I've got my apps, everything in Teams. Insights is a tool that can be used by employees and managers to get insights and promote healthy work habits. So, if you are using Viva Insights at the moment, you might see those familiar emails coming through suggesting that you book some focus time just to make sure that you get your work done. Viva Learning is a training tool in Microsoft 365, which you can bring into Teams. So, this is where, as an employee, I can access free online training directly in my Teams environment. Finally, topics is all about knowledge management and knowledge sharing. So, if I'm an organization who's using SharePoint, Yammer, Teams, OneDrive, there's lots of different tools I'm utilizing. Topics allows you to create topics where it shares the information about that particular thing. So, for example, a project code, if I want to find out everything about that project, I could create a topic and I could see all the information about that.
Wow, there's actually so much involved in the kind of the entire suite, isn't there?
Yes, definitely.
I mean, I know, Kat, we're going to delve into it a bit more detail, but I mean, because there's so much involved, if you can identify maybe two or three kind of quick wins, maybe a business can solve with Viva, what would they be as the highlights for you?
I would say number one is communication. A really quick win is to streamline all of your communications, and that's using Viva Connections more so than the other tools. And the reason for that is it's not necessarily a complicated thing to deploy within an organization. And if you're using SharePoint already and Teams, it makes sense to bring those together so you can streamline your culture, your communication in one place for that end user. Another one as a quick win, I would definitely say improving onboarding experiences for new employees, and that's incorporating the rest of the tools really. Because as an employee, I can access training and be assigned training courses when I join an organization to make sure I'm skilled up. I can easily find information when I'm a new employee by using the topics cards. And with insights, I can get, keep track of if I need to connect with someone in my organization, if I need to book a one-to-one with my manager. All of these tools work together just to improve that experience, especially in a hybrid workspace that we're in now.
Well, I mean, I have to admit, I mean, the pandemic, it's quite overspoken about recently, but it's really hard not to mention it when it's had such an impact on the technology world, especially because the workforce now, as you mentioned in introduction there, is hybrid. So if we look at the quick wins there and the onboarding process, that's had to be very unusual for HR teams. So I can imagine the challenges and kind of the benefits Viva can provide there. I do kind of want to focus on where Viva addresses some of the other challenges in kind of the modern world we live in now. So I know that in some organisations, like in Bites ourselves, we're actually predominantly working from home, but we are starting to come into the office maybe 2 or 3 times a week. So how do you see Viva enabling people to work in this kind of flexible hybrid world? I suppose focusing on the side for, can managers use this to kind of track and help their employees? Is that part of the suite?
Yeah, definitely. So what we're looking at there is probably more the Viva Insights module. So the Viva Insights module is a tool really designed for employees, but also managers and stakeholders in an organization to make better decisions and processes to help their employees. And it's easier, it makes it like a little bit easier since we are remote working. So for example, if I just click through to look at what a manager will be able to look at for their team. I'm a manager, I'm remote working, my team's all over the globe or the UK. How do I see if people are working, after hours, if there's risk of burnout? It's very hard to do that when you're not in the same room. Where you have Viva Insights, where as a manager in Microsoft Teams, you'll see that my Viva Insights app is here and I have a my team view where I can see there's actually 60% of a chance that there might be burnout within my employees because they are working after hours. And what I can do from here is actually get a recommended plan of what I can do to improve that. So I can suggest no meeting Fridays so we can actually have time to get our work done. We can recommend our staff turn off notifications and so on. And that's just scratching the surface of Viva Insights when it helps in terms of helping organizations when remote working. There is another view, what I did really want to mention, which is the organization view. And what we're looking at here is from an organization, so that top layer of of a business, we can look at different the data within Office 365 and see, okay, if I wanted to boost employee engagement, how would I do that? And this is taking data from our Office 365 environment. So this is telling me that 61% of our employees are not having their one-to-ones with managers. If I scroll down, I can see who's working after hours. And I can drill into that and get recommended plans of things to do to improve that. So Viva Insights, I would say, is definitely the key tool in there to help managers with remote work.
Well, that actually seems really helpful, both from the employee perspective, also the managerial perspective. And I think one word that you used in there that really spoke out to me was the engagement. So there has been quite a big shift in 2020. The demographic of the workforce, when I say a big shift, it sounds pretty scary, but actually the millennials and the Gen Ys, they're all now in their 30s and they're kind of all in all the middle management positions. Whereas, believe it or not, actually the Gen Zs are now coming into the workforce and they're the new graduates. They're kind of the new blood in an organization. So, how can organizations develop kind of a corporate communication strategy to ensure that kind of employees do remain engaged while having this flexibility of how people are set up hybridly?
So I think the quick win that I mentioned with communication is looking at Viva Connections. If you think about the generations that are coming into the workforce, well, they're well into the workforce now. They are used to apps. Apps is the way that we work and communicate in our personal lives, especially with social media. And so Viva Connections really is about bringing everything into that one app, into Microsoft Teams. So what you can see on my screen right here is an example of Viva Connections. So my organization has an intranet called Juicy Frost Intranet. I don't feel like the name there. But in here, you can see I'm logged into Microsoft Teams. The first thing I see when I log into Teams is my intranet. I see my news. I scroll down, I see social events that are coming up. I see Yammer conversations. On the right-hand side, I have a dashboard where I can access my tasks and anything that I need to do. And that's all embedded into Microsoft Teams. And I can go in and I can look at my tools and resources, my different departments, and it will take me to that location, but keep me in Teams. People don't want to use multiple tools to do their jobs. It's keeping everything in that one place. And it's building more of a culture because I am kept up to date with the news. I feel more involved in the organization because simply I've connected my intranet into Teams. So I would say Viva Connections is such a quick win and really helps address those challenges when it comes to communication in different tools and different places and feeling a little bit more involved in hybrid working.
Yeah, I mean, again, I mean, I have to admit, I do love the Juicy Frost internet name there as well. Uh, But I mean, it's interesting there. So you're saying bringing the internet into Teams. So, and again, in your introduction there, the way that not even the kind of the younger generation, but even the older generations, they're used to using kind of Google, sorry, Edge being a Microsoft partner, or social media applications or applications like Just Eat and Amazon. Essentially, all the information you need is at the kind of the fingertips of what you're trying to get access to. So in regards to training then, knowing kind of what tool to use, promoting this kind of learning culture while it's a remote work, how would Viva address those problems?
So what we'll be looking at there is Viva Learning. And I get really excited about Viva Learning just because for me, as a consultant and getting training and certifications, finding the time to do that, even post, remote working, you'd still have to find time. You maybe book time off. It was just quite difficult to do. And now that we're remote working, it seems that we have back-to-back Teams meetings or, Teams meetings. And it's hard to find that time to take out, this kind of bite-sized chunk of training that I want to do. So Viva Learning really addresses that challenge. And if I just show you what I mean. So in Microsoft Teams, again, I can just access my Viva Learning app. So again, it's that app in Teams, where as a user, I can go in and I can access free training. And the free training that's provided by Microsoft are things like Microsoft Learn, the Microsoft Learning Paths, and free LinkedIn Learning training as well. So if I just click on providers, I'll be able to see the training. I can get training that's recommended to me. I can put my interests in there. Some of them do certifications. But what really does it for Viva Learning is, especially now that we don't have time to train, is that I can open up a course directly within Microsoft Teams, but I can consume an hour-long video into bite-sized chunks. So I can now say, okay, if I'm looking at, learning Audacity, audio editing, I just want to look at how to import, I can skip through that and consume this 2-minute, 2-second video instead of having to look through and sit down and watch an hour and a half long piece of content. One other thing with Viva Learning that I did want to mention is being able to assign learning courses to your staff. So you have the ability in Viva Learning to actually add the Viva Learning tab into a team. I can open up courses, I can choose to assign those courses to my staff, and I can track to see if they've started it, if they've completed it or not. And again, this hits on the onboarding experience for your new staff members. If they join, they need to do some initial onboarding training. This is a great tool to use for that as well. So Viva Learning is definitely hitting those challenges.
And for customers that already have like a learning management system or an LMS system in place, how does this sit alongside Viva Learning?
One of the questions I always get asked is Viva Learning an LMS? And it's not. It's not a learning management system. It integrates with learning management systems. They only integrate so far with a couple of the big ones like Cornerstone. There's a few others on there, so it's worth checking. But this will integrate with your learning management system. So again, all of the content and everything you're using within that system can be integrated into Teams. So as a user, I'm consuming the same content, but it's all through Teams. It's that one place. I also forgot to mention you can add your own content as an organization into Viva Learning. So you can customize and choose what your users actually see. Pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, I mean that is actually pretty cool, and it's good to understand where it sits with maybe when customers have existing kind of systems up in place. That it's almost not a compete; it almost complements it, which is great.
Exactly.
Yeah. Um, so I know kind of looking at when having existing systems, where Viva might sit in this. Well, I mean, Microsoft have got so many different collaboration tools. You've got Teams, you've got Yammer, you've got email, I mean, you've got the good old phone call off Teams as well, and now you've got Viva. So, I mean, according to Gartner, I mean, Microsoft Office 365 still remains in the top quadrant for team and content collaboration in 2021, and it is predicted to keep its status. But when you're talking to customers, I mean, I find a common problem is they don't know where to find data, they don't know how to share data, whether it's internally, externally. So, how's Viva designed to help with this side of things?
So that's where something like Viva Topics will really come into play. And Viva Topics, if I just show you. So Topics is all about helping with that, abundance of information that we have in different places. So I'm someone who's in an organization. I maybe have just joined the organization. I've got SharePoint, OneDrive, email, I've got files, I've got Teams, and it's just quite difficult to keep a track of that information, find out what it's all about, and actually share that information as well. So Topics is a Microsoft Viva app that you can bring into Microsoft Teams where I can create topics. So, for example, I have a topic that I've created in this organization called SOAR, which is a project. And if somebody types that project name in SharePoint in a file or in Teams, as you can see here, anybody will be able to go in and hover over it and actually get a topic card where I can see what it's about, who's involved, and the files related. A really important point to note with this is compliance. You're only allowed to see, or you're only able to see what you're allowed. So if you have something that's confidential that you've locked down in terms of permissions, that's not going to be shared through topics. All the compliance tools that you set up will align to this as well. I can view the details and I can get more information on that topic card. So that's pulling in files, conversations from Yammer, from SharePoint, from OneDrive, and Teams. And that's a tool that you can use throughout all of those as well, not just sticking it in Microsoft Teams. And what we're seeing is organizations who have thousands and thousands of files that just aren't managed properly. We can turn on topics. We can start creating that knowledge management system across Office 365 apps. So it's a really powerful tool, and it's great for those organizations looking for that knowledge management solution.
Yeah, I mean, certainly not a quick win, but definitely an extremely useful one that Viva can provide there from
Yeah.
from your description. Because I know that Core, I mean, you've been deploying Viva to a couple of customers now since it's been released. Do you have any kind of packages that help customers with kind of a deployment of Viva?
Yeah, definitely. So there's a couple of packages that we have at the moment. One is a Viva Connections quick deploy. So if you want that quick win, if you want that connections and that communication piece, we can go in and deploy that for you. And we do training as well to make sure that you can manage it moving forward. Um, get in contact with us if you do want us to help with any Viva Connections implementations. We also have a Viva Suite package. So if you are looking at insights, connections, topics, and learning, the whole thing, we have a package where basically we can come in, do discovery, configure all of those elements, and do training as well. So we have some really great kind of quick deploy packages for all of those elements.
Perfect. I know that Bytes and Core kind of work together on those, but initially, and then that is a chargeable experience for customers. But I do know initially we also work with you guys on some of the Microsoft funded workshops. So do you mind talking
Yeah.
us through kind of what customers, I mean, assuming they're eligible, what that could be a possibility for?
Yeah, so there's two types of Viva workshops available that are funded by Microsoft, depending on certain criteria. So if anybody's interested, we can check to see if you are eligible. And one is Microsoft Viva, which is a workshop where we look at the art of the possible. So we do a demonstration of Viva, and we choose one of the modules, either connections, learning, or topics, do a deep dive on those in terms of use cases, how they'll be used, how do we deploy it to really get you to the next stage. We then have a Viva Insights workshop, which is very insights specific. So that's looking at the workplace analytics, the manager view, and the personal insights. Again, it's art of the possible. Let's look at the technology, then let's figure out the use cases. How is it actually going to be used within the organization so you get real value from it? So there's two of those that are available as well.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, to reiterate what Kat said there, so if you want to reach out to your Bytes account managers, they can find out if you're eligible or not, and they can put us through to kind of Kat and the team at Core, and they can actually get that rolled out for you and get the pre-engagement call bit kind of set up and the agenda sorted with you. But yeah, I mean, Kat, I mean, we're kind of running to the end of our session now, but is there any kind of final comments or points you'd like to discuss on Viva that you think the audience would like?
The one thing I would say is that Viva is the next big thing from Microsoft. We all remember what happened with Microsoft Teams. There was lots of investment and excitement. This is the new Teams. So keep an eye out, and it's a great time to start getting involved because it's such a new and exciting time for the technology.
Oh, perfect. Well, Kat, as always, it's so great to have you as a guest on our show. And yeah, have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.